Amazing. Oh, this is going to be so good. Oh my goodness. I'm over here like happy dancing in between sessions, like interviews. Because I'm like, I just know we're going to give people the gold. They are really about to get all the gold. So, okay, let me just check the sound. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sound's coming through. Let me type a quick hello in the chat. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us and see Lee and Sherry? It all looks good on my side, but just going to make sure for the audience that they're good too. So much fun. This has been such a powerful series. I'm so glad I took this on. I was wanting to do it earlier in the year, but I just like had so many other things going on, so that I got the chance to do it at this point. It almost, when I look at the astrology, it was just so perfect. It was like, okay, and this is the point when people are really going to need this. So it worked out in divine order, and I'm really grateful for that. All right, EMB says yes. They can hear. Marnix says yes, loud and clear. Cool. Catherine's here. Hi, guys. Amazing. All the powerful folks in the powerful place. I'm absolutely loving it. This is wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here for another fabulous interview for the Creator Conference. I am your host, Kay Moon, and I am joined today with a wonderful couple, Lee and Sherry of Twin Flames, Lee and Sherry on YouTube. Their business is Relationship Reinvented, and they've been some of my coaches and mentors for a long time on the power of love and connection. And I am sharing them with you once again on my channel to have a powerful conversation about love and connection and the power that it brings in manifestation. Some of you have been here with me for a long time, so you've seen Lee and Sherry before, and some of you are newer to meeting Lee and Sherry because it's been a while since I've had special guests on my channel, and anytime I do special guesty type things, I do tend to want to include them because they have such powerful things to say. But one of the things that it became real apparent to me last year, and why I have them here during this conversation today for this conference, is that in the world of the twin flame conversation, I began to notice how rooted that conversation is in a dynamic of separation. Well, there's running going on, or there's chasing going on, or there's some level of, in order to even identify when you start to look on the internet for, well, what is this? There's always some level of validation for separation, some validation for disconnection, and validation for not being together. And the more I really started to understand that, I was like, you know what? This is not the way. This is not how union happens, with focus on separation. And so the more clear I got about that. Oh, go on. What were you going to say, Sherry?
That's how separation happens.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to get into the good stuff real quick here. So when I put together this conference on manifestation, I know I run a channel that's 100% relationship focused in many, many ways. I said, I've got to have a couple on here who can talk specifically about union and talk specifically about coming together and what's on the other side of just the getting into union part. Let's talk about all the magic that can happen in union and magic that union itself creates to cultivate a conversation about union. And so that's why we're here with this magical couple, these magical, beautiful beings in front of us. If you're new to Lee and Sherry, I'll be placing their links both in the chat, and if you're catching the replay, in the description box. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Creator Conference will go on through July 17th with more powerful conversations around manifestation, not just on love. You hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when I go live, so you won't have to worry about memorizing a schedule. But Lee and Sherry here are really focused on consciousness as the being that lives inside of you and connects you to everything, and really allowing yourself to get into surrender to that connectedness to all within, all without is all one. And so they have found a way to bring their connection together, and they show people how to do that through their business. Relationship Reinvented, they run boot camps, they do private coaching, they do coaching certification. And if you were part of Creator Conference's kickoff, you heard from one of their certified coaches, Allie of Allie's Tarot. She was with us. And part of why Allie is so deep at what she does is because she worked and trained with these two as she got started. Okay. And so they answered the call to consciousness, and their invitation to you is to answer that call as well. And they got started in 2011, and they've been in union together doing this work. And since then, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct.
And
it's not that we had before then, but yeah.
Right. It's going to be super refreshing to actually be able to speak about what happens after, because it's really what we focused on, and in our business and what we do is the journey to get here, and how just rocky and potholey it is, and trying to help others navigate through that, right? And universe has been saying movement in me a lot. And I'm doing a special female movement class. Besides that, it just, the movement collectively has been pretty freaking awesome. Now we're being able to speak and talk about, well, now what? Right? Because
that was something else.
Now look, I mean, we're in union, and we've been in union for a long time, and we speak so much about how we got here. We haven't really had the opportunity to speak so much about now what we do once we're here.
Right.
So it's super cool that you're giving us the opportunity to come out and speak about now what, right? And how we got here, of course, and what we did to get here, and how we manifest other things now, right, in our lives. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I thought y'all would find that refreshing to talk about.
So refreshing.
I was like, they got to be as done with the separation conversation as I am. They have to be.
Oh man, I'm telling you, there's a waiting game that's been happening in a lot of people's lives, and that waiting game, Spirit has just been pushing me to address it, and that's exactly what I'm doing in my I got a Divine Feminine Explosion course, and we're just gonna get movement. That's what movement, right? And actually showing them how to manifest the movement. It's manifestation to some people just seems like a fantasy or a word, right? But it's such a powerful part of the union, right? And even manifesting small little household things. I need an air fryer, right? And I just focused on getting an air fryer and finally got an air fryer. It just little things like that. You wouldn't think,
no,
right? Or feel like, I'll just handle it. But you don't realize that you can bring these things into your lives and have peace with this person, right? If there's no peace, if there's turmoil, right, you can have peace.
Right.
But you have to manifest the peace. It sounds so difficult, but it's so easy.
manifestation usually doesn't happen because of your expectations. You want things the way you want them. You don't want them the way the universe is going to get them to you.
Right.
So, when we came together, which we talked about a lot on our channel, there was so much talk of what we couldn't manifest coming together.
Right.
So it was, what is it like to just be connected to somebody and know you're connected to somebody and you feel them all the time and you're accepting that you feel them all the time, at some point turns into manifestation when you both are that way.
Right.
And that's how you kind of come together. But all of the mind noise that probably prevents you from getting there is what stops you from manifesting what you can, or manifesting how you come together. You need it to be a certain way, and that's just not manifestation, that's expectation. And it becomes a blurry line really easy. But I look at it now, and I look at even from 2011 to now, the things that we've had to kind of just focus in on and then just find the way. The way the universe has kind of guided us through that was, you're manifesting being together forever and being here and healing and doing the things that we do. We noticed that there was a particular type of feeling that we had to both embrace.
Yeah.
And realize that that feeling wasn't about tomorrow or the next day or even yesterday. It was about where we were at in that moment. And that's the conscious part that I believe Kay was addressing there, is that you got to be clear that your mind is going to make a lot of noise, and that noise doesn't necessarily need your energy. What needs your energy is the feeling you're in. And it's really easy to do something with that.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to add that focus is important.
Mm.
Focus is super important. For so long, we were focused on separation. We didn't realize it, right? I certainly didn't realize it. I really thought that I was focusing on coming together, right? Mm-hmm. At one point, if some of you out there have seen our journey on our YouTube channel, where we just started from where we met and until now, we're still adding to that journey video. But looking back, and I used to not look back at our videos at all because I would have taken them all down being self-conscious. But I go through now and I look at them and I realize that, wow, back then when I think about it, I was so focused on him hurting me so badly that I would just, because he's the one, when you're in a connection, right? That person knows everything about you and more than you do, because they can see things that you're hiding, and he can feel things that I'm feeling, and I can't hide that. Are you okay? Yeah. No, you're not. You know what I mean? Type of thing. And knowing that he knows so much about me, that he's the one that could potentially hurt me to the core that I don't think I could recover from. And we focus on that. And we get fear. We create fear from that, right? So, and instead of coming closer, we build boundaries, we build walls, and we move further apart, right? That's inside. I was building a fortress so I didn't get hurt, right? Not realizing that, you know what, I'm going to get hurt anyway. I'm not, he's not perfect. I'm not perfect, right? But that detrimental hurt, I had to sort of trust that wasn't going to happen and allow myself to focus on just being able to allow myself to be with him, right? Being able to accept his love, being able to show my love, and those types of things. And when I did, when I focused on being able to just be me, no matter what it is, no matter what day, no matter what time of the month, right? None of that, just me, right? Good, bad, and ugly, me, right? If he
Nothing
can,
ugly about
if he can accept me, not the front that I can put on if I'm meeting a senator, right? But me,
right.
All of me, then perhaps things will shift. So I did so. And when I did connect in that way, right, it seemed like the more I pulled back, the more you pulled me towards you. Like, no. And it came to pass that I was ready, then you weren't, and then you were ready, and then I wasn't. And then realizing that we cannot be ready 4,000 or 5,000 times, and we can be ready 1,000,000 times too. But why can't we go through this and do this together and sort of blaze a trail, right? Which we had no idea we were doing. We were just trying to navigate like everybody else who didn't have Lee and Sherry to help them navigate. And we had concussions. We had hurt, right? We had hurt, not focusing on the negative and the hurt and the rocky road that we had to go through, right? And once we came into union, even before the physical marriage, which is just a piece of paper and just show the friends and family, just letting everybody be in that connection energy for a while. Even before then, manifesting this union, focusing on what we wanted and what we needed from each other, right? And number one thing was just admitting and being vulnerable enough to let him know that, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say shitty things. And I'm a human being, right? And him accepting that and vice versa really took our focus differently, right? And this doesn't have to be a fight. Like, we don't have to fight the universe. I did that. I tried to manifest us being together my own way. I took it into human hands to make things happen. And if you watch our journey, you know what I'm talking about. It was brutal. I did some shit. I did some things to make things happen that were not only unethical, they were illegal. Really. But I did these things in order for us to be able to be together.
Right.
That's what I thought. You know what I mean? That's what I thought. And it happened. It happened for a couple months. We were together. It was great. It was bliss. We were living in the same home. It was beautiful. It was nice. And then all hell broke loose and all my little plan fell apart. And the universe said, well, we're not talking about your plan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We're talking about our plan. This is the universe's plan. So while you're trying to play God here and make things happen, non-negative.
Right.
Right. And we separated for a while. I set us back so much. Right. But I know that there was a reason for that. Here we are talking to you about the mistakes that we've made along the way, but how we got here was focusing on being together.
You can't be together without the truth. And, when you're doing things and when you're trying to manifest coming together, if the truth isn't there, you can't come together for that. And the truth is sometimes so simple, but we've made it so complex and then you throw judgment into the mix, and that's where your fears come from. You believe that somewhere in your head, you're telling yourself, well, for sure, I know that I want to be with her, but am I going to be enough for her? Mistake number one, I'm trying to make a decision for her whether I'm enough. That definitely hindered us, I think, in the very beginning. It hindered us both coming there. But even when we came together, we noticed that we were magically looking at things and not really paying attention to the things that we thought, are we good enough for this? And we did it more of a together thing. And then it turns out it wasn't about being good enough for that at all. It was about being vulnerable, being open, being truthful, not hiding your pain, not hiding your hurt. Those things, if they're all aligned, you can manifest just about everything. What Sherry went through over the last 3 years is proof of that. And I think we underestimated connection or didn't realize the power of connection.
We really did underestimate the power of manifestation and this connection.
Absolutely.
We really underestimated it. And we're going to totally get into that. But I want to talk about little things too.
Oh yeah.
That we I manifested a puppy. I did.
How'd that happen?
We had 2 big dogs, and we had talked about getting another one, but we wanted a certain color of the same breed. And so I focused on it, and it wasn't a week later, somebody posted in our very community. Now we've had to go out of state to get these dogs.
Yeah.
Right. So in our very community had a litter of these very same breed.
That she
same color.
She would show me pictures of this, and I would go, "Oh, I would love to have one of those." And we both felt the same thing at the same time. And it wasn't. She's right. It wasn't even a week later. This woman out in the west says, "I'm about to have pups of this breed."
Yeah.
And it was a Merle Great Dane and a silver lab.
And she had no idea what she was doing, so I guided her a little bit and helped her along. And now we have Craig.
Yes.
And he's 4, and he's great.
Yes.
But what Lee was speaking of earlier, that we really did manifest life again, right? And I started getting ill in 2019, not feeling quite right. I was doing a lot. I had a big event that I was planning. And then I just wasn't feeling well, and I attributed it to stress. I thought maybe I had a bleeding ulcer because I was throwing up a lot of blood, things like that. I was self-diagnosing. I was looking up WebMD. It's a bad idea. And there was just so much going on in my life. I was super unhealthy. We were eating junk, and we just wasn't taking care of ourselves. So I just attributed it to all that. But come to find out after a while that I had stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver, and I needed a transplant, and it didn't look like it was coming in time. And I was put in hospice care, and I was in hospice care for a few weeks, and the doctors were telling me that, it's 10 days or less, it's a couple weeks away, or it's a week away. I had already went through the emotional and the mental process of leaving everything here, leaving him, leaving my family. I had already went through that process of knowing that I was dying and not being able to show any type of emotion where that was, right? Because I was so sick. And there was a point in time where I was told that it's probably too late. I don't think that, a transplant is going to happen in time. And it happens a lot. Like, I think there's 3,000 people die every week because there's, they don't get a transplant in time. And thank goodness mine wasn't alcohol related. However, the alcohol that I was consuming wasn't helping at all. So I stopped drinking the wine at night and started feeling a little bit better. But nevertheless, I stopped focusing on dying. That was so big for me because I was focused on dying for so long because they told me I was dying, and I felt it. Everything was already shutting down. My bladder didn't work. My kidneys didn't work. Nothing worked. My brain wasn't working. And that was the worst because there were times where I didn't even know who he was. And it was the focus was there. And then Spirit nudged me and said, switch your focus. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't know what that meant. I had so much ammonia in my brain that I didn't know what that meant. And I woke up one day, and me and my mother had words, some type of falling out. It was probably over something dumb. And I knew that my time was very near. So I knew that I needed to call my mom and make amends with her. I knew that I needed to do that. And before that, I had started to switch my focus on living, right? But they were telling me that I was dying. Lee was never focused on me dying. He was always focused on me living. And my other support system, his brother, Saint, in my eyes, but it happened the way that it was supposed to. I had already succumbed to the thought of passing. I had already dealt with it. So now it was time to switch my focus into living. If it's a day, if it's 2 days, if it's 2 weeks, I need to really take this time and live the best that I can for as sick as I was. And I need to do some clearing and focusing on living, whether it's another week. I just need to make that my focus.
Right.
Called my mom over. She came over with my oldest daughter. We had another little argument till we could finally calm things down, and we calmed things down, and the sense of peace came over us, all of us. And we had ran to the store to get something. But I mean, once you go through that energetic exchange and you work things out, then you tend to get hungry and thirsty or whatever. I think you guys went to the store for something, ice or something. I don't even remember. But I'm sitting in the living room on the couch with my IV in, and I feel energetically better because me and my mom were having a conversation. We were laughing, we were talking. We had worked things out. My oldest daughter was there. It was just it was a beautiful time. And he had went to the store and the phone rang, and I looked at it, and it had the hospital's number on it. So I answered it, and it was the surgeon who really in the first 3 minutes of the conversation was just asking me how I was doing, and it was everything okay and how I was feeling. And I just told him that I was feeling pretty good that day. But I opted for, they started putting morphine drip in my IV. And I just stopped that. I didn't want any of that. I prefer plant medicine. So he offered me a liver. Like he said, I have a liver for you. It's out of state, so it has to come here. But do you accept it? And there was a condition that the liver was Hep B positive. But that's something that can be taken care of. My body's never picked it up. It's always been undetectable. But that night, once I started to focus on life, I got life. I got life. I got my transplant on October 30th of 2021. And I was given a second chance at life. And now the focus is living, right? Living life to the fullest, to the best. And interesting enough, in this twin flame connection, right? Living is what's next, right? Living is what comes out of this. Life is formed when you manifest this union. Life comes out of it in so many different ways. Mine just happens to be physical, right? And honestly, after my transplant, there were some issues. There were some issues with my bile duct because my donor was much younger and much smaller than I. So I did go through some survivor's guilt, because why did that young person pass? And I'm 52, you know what I mean? 53 or 51 at the time. Yeah, a lot of that. And, but I released that focus on dying and manifested life. I had subsequently had some things go wrong where I ended up in surgery. They had to open my whole transplant scar back up, go in and fix this bile duct. They just did that this past May on the 12th, and I'm doing wonderfully. And I know how to do that now. Right. Like I know how to manifest living life. It's simply, what are you focused on?
Right.
And I really want to touch on, there are so many people out there focused on another person first. I'm guilty. I focused on him so much, right? That's my focus. That's what I want. That's it, right? And in all honesty, my focus was not in the right place. My focus should have been on me, taking care of myself. Perhaps I wouldn't have had to go through that transplant if I would have taken better care of myself. I wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't focusing on me, right? Once I started to focus on me, he came closer and closer and closer and closer. When I was focused on him, it was further and further and further away. It's such an eye opener, right? When you're focused on yourself and you do things for you and you find happiness and union in yourself, that's when you can have physical union with somebody else.
Can't manifest it otherwise. So the other side of that experience is I was being asked to let go of a connection I didn't know how to let go of and refused to even listen to. So you had doctors telling me, you had pastors telling me that I needed to give up and just be okay and let her go because she needs to go peacefully. She's not gonna, you're gonna make it rough on her. I just didn't hear any of it. I waited till I felt her reconnect to me and stay focused on living. And it's a hard place to stay in when you can keep feeling that oscillation happen. We had a lot of that. And I always stayed grounded and she's not going anywhere. I always stay grounded and we need a third connection to come to help our connection flourish. So when I remember coming back in that door and hearing that they called with a liver offer, I realized that this was the third person coming in to keep our connection here for what I knew was life. And I would tell you it's surreal because when you're in it, you have this feeling you're staying with. And this feeling is she's going to wake up. And as soon as I saw her after the surgery, she was clear-headed and she was herself. And I was like, whoa, there you are. It was like, I've been looking for you. It wasn't like, it was like having, seriously, it was like I could feel my twin slipping, but I could feel her coming and staying inside of me as well. I mean, it was better for her to stay in with me while her body was sick. So when she was able to jump back in her body again, she could. But I believe that. So I manifested my own beliefs so she could have that bridge. You don't realize how important it is that when you're manifesting just even connection itself, that there's so much to connection that you got to open your eyes to and open your heart to and open your mind to and open everything you are, you have to open up to. If you're struggling to do that, you're going to be stuck at square one, which is not even close to where manifestation can be found. And there was this proud moment of me and my brother actually experiencing something where we brought connection, where we've lost connection. And we felt that it wasn't just the three, the donor. There were so many variables of that triangle that were fitting in to manifest her being here, sitting next to me right now. And the happiness and the joy and the love and the mission, because the mission starts with what you're going through right now. If you're stuck, you can manifest yourself being unstuck, but you got to pay attention to what you feel. You can't pay attention to what you think, because that's manifestation doesn't happen from your thoughts. It happens from your feeling. Right.
Yeah. That's that powerful energy of focused energy.
Right. And if you focus on the feeling instead of the way you think about it, you can pretty much accomplish and have and be and do anything. You can have your connection, but you got to be willing to give up what you think. You got to be willing to expose what you think, because like I said, you can't manifest things without the truth. So we had to reach a center point in that, and a lot of different points in our connection where if we weren't on the same page, nothing worked. Nothing worked, not coming together, not getting ripped apart. I mean, nothing worked. Finances were, that was because we were both brought up in poor to middle class environment with a poor mentality of thought.
Right.
But when we came together, she literally had to keep nudging me to say, stop struggling.
Yeah. Surrender
already. And I could not get that until she said surrender, that I understand what she meant, because everything broke through it. I went up. So you'll constantly have these spaces where you're supposed to be unionized to manifest, because it literally one little thought can stick everything and keep it on hold until you're ready to just break it loose.
And it could be as much as one of us were stressed over some financial things. One of us was trying to put on that front, like everything's going to be fine, don't worry.
Right.
The worry and the stress is the focus, right?
Yes.
When that starts happening, the worry and the stress becomes your focus, and the worry and the stress becomes your manifestation.
It's like Slinky. Isn't it? It's like, the Slinky, and they always get tore up somehow. They always have that loose spring, and that loose spring is always either separation, worry, fear. It's always, that broken part of the Slinky. And we kept looking at each other like, okay, you broke the Slinky. No, I didn't. You broke the Slinky. And
you're worried. No, I'm not.
worried.
You're worried.
Right.
You're stressed. No, I'm not. You're stressed. And in all reality, we were both kind of worried about the same thing, right? And guess what? We manifested.
Yep.
The same. Oh, lights are off. Whoa, light a candle.
But you can also manifest a way through.
Right.
And, the way through is the way that you come into what you can manifest. By myself, I don't think I ever had a belief structure or belief system set up for manifesting things. I always believed hard work earned something or hard work did something, only to realize that hard work was hard work for somebody else. I'd never understood the power of manifestation until I realized it works for you, not against you. So when you're looking for what you can manifest, you literally have to believe you already have it. You already have to believe that you're already in it. Once we settled into we're together, we're never going to be apart. We're never not going to talk. We're never going to not be going different directions. We're never not going to, even if we have somebody in our lives, we're never not going to let that person know about the person that we're connected to. It's almost like you have to somehow surrender to all of that and say, yeah, you're with me, you're with them. That's literally the way it worked. But then there's the space there that says, I'm with them no matter what. And that's the manifestation of coming together. The manifestation of staying together is just as difficult as it is coming together, because there's gonna be little pockets, illnesses, thoughts that get held back, no truths not shared. Those things prevent the manifestation from occurring. If you can't be open with your thoughts and your feelings to the person that you're manifesting with, you're not going to manifest anything other than loneliness.
And that's including yourself.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't be on the same page with the person you're manifesting with, very well could be yourself.
Yes.
Very well could be. And you could be your own block. You could be.
Could be.
I see a lot of the blocks with the waiting.
Yes.
Well, I've been waiting on him to leave his wife, and he's going to leave after the kids get older. And you know what I mean? I probably shouldn't throw this flag, but we got this flag. and
sorry, kid, but we had to.
And
About several of them.
look.
Oh, I'm here for it. You better throw that flag.
You need to get you one of these flags.
Yes, we're gonna get you one.
Look, he throws this flag like he's on a soccer field.
I'll take it.
No,
I'll take one.
more like football.
Right. No. But honestly, we are, I did myself an injustice by putting myself on hold to wait for him until I snapped out of it a couple months later and realized that my focus was still on him. My focus was still trying to find him. My focus was still being obsessed on him, right? And it kept pushing him further and further away. So I decided at that point in time, first of all, I didn't want somebody who had that kind of crazy history in my life, in my romantic life, right? Because I didn't want to look over my shoulder to see what he was doing, check his phone, all that mess. I didn't want to live like that. So he just wasn't ready. And then there was a time when we went into separation where we didn't even really understand this connection, right? And we didn't even understand a twin flame. And I was explaining this earlier in a live that we did on our channel, that a twin flame is a human word that was put on a feeling right? And as humans, we have to label everything, and we have to give it a definition and
the story.
And a story. And it's just very similar to the word love. The 4-letter word love doesn't even come close to describing the feeling, right? So the words twin flames, that doesn't even come close to describing this union. Once we're here, what have we manifested? Well, I mean, I can go on and on and on about puppy. I manifested an ice shaver.
Manifested a rabbit.
Oh man.
Rabbits. Oh,
I got an ice
rabbits.
shaver.
42 rabbits.
I love this ice shaver. It's the best ice shaver ever. I manifested this ice shaver and I eat ice all the time. But honestly, those little things are so easy to just, I'd like a rabbit. Puff a rabbit. Okay. I'd like a lynx. I know somebody who has a lynx and I'd like to have a lynx. She's selling the lynx. I'd like to have a lynx. So I'm going to manifest this lynx. You guys watch and see. But
that's how you do that.
When it comes, though,
like that.
it's hard because he's not on the same page of the lynx.
No,
I could tell with the face he made. He thinks he calls us out on the faces, but I saw it. I saw it.
Hey, let me tell you how that went down, right? Because at first it was a fox, right? She's like, I want a fox. And I was like, no. But then she was like, okay, is it a fox or a lynx? So she showed me a lynx, but she showed me this mangy fox. So I was like, a lynx. Like I pointed at it. But then a few days later, it came out of me. Oh, you can have a lynx. And I went, whoa, hey, don't manifest on my end. Because that can happen. She can keep putting a picture in my head. Because you know when you're connected, there are tricks of the trade. This one here knows that I'm not really quite savvy on.
Hang on. Before we go any further, I need to make a technical request of you two. The camera's surface that it sits on is a little bit wobbly, and I would love it if you could stabilize it for me just a little bit, so that as you two animate, the camera does not animate. Thank you. That's perfect.
Right. I have really long legs. People always think I'm as tall, the same height as her, but I'm much taller. So I'm sitting down. On my
much taller though.
Here we go with more of the yellow flag. Going back to the subject at hand. Let's come back to the subject at hand.
Right. Yes.
Those things are fun. Those things, material things, you know what? They're fun. You can manifest them. It is whatever. But the manifestation of union, right, was the biggest manifestation, I believe, over even me manifesting my second life, right? Because that was a rough journey. But the spiritual aspect, right, of being able to manifest peace, being able to manifest happiness, right? In times of people are out there shooting everybody and there's so much violence going on in the world. We live in this sort of bubble, right? We live in this bubble in the middle of the suburbs, but we don't even lock our door at night because we know that our energy field can't be penetrated. And if it can, we've got 3 big dogs, right?
So I want to get into a little bit of the technical of that real quick though, Sherry, because I think that you're touching on some deeper principles that I know people will get as they work with you. But what I want to illuminate and expand some of them before we go further. One of them is that, for any manifestation, there is, if you've had counter manifestation, counter agreement, counter level of focus in an opposite direction for a length of time, to get momentum in the direction of what you want, that also takes time. It takes focus. It takes a level of recognizing that for the old song to fade out and the new song to turn on, you have to train that brain on what to focus on. Like, I'm sure it was a little bit of practice for y'all to be focused and drilled down on, okay, nothing is wrong here. Let me focus on what's good here. She's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Okay, I can relax. And every step of being focused on, here's all the good things, here's all the things that feel good, brought more of it in. Plus, rather than the projection of something bad happening, let's just say something happened and it felt other than good, you didn't resist that either. You also said yes. It was moving from a no, I don't want mindset to a yes and mindset. It sounds like. So if stuff came up and it was like, oh, I'm worried or I'm scared, the truth of revealing that couldn't be resisted or denied. That had to be embraced just as much as embracing, well, there's also a lot of really beautiful things here. I guess he didn't run away when I told him I was freaked out about this. I guess he's still here. I could focus on that part and not go into story and projection. Well, before you did this and then you did that other time and now you did, and just like drilling down on the pain of the past and doubling down on the pain of what it used to be. Really relinquishing that to the, okay, this is new, this is different. Here's where I'm at today. Here's where we're at today. And so even as I was listening to you share that story about your mom and the day you made amends with your mom, right? And then getting that phone call. And it was a real decision, like, okay, I'm holding this stuff. It doesn't feel good to hold on to this stuff. I got to get into a union with myself around, okay, I'm holding this. I want to put it down. And so the self embrace in that created more space, more bandwidth for more love to flow. Love began to flow with her. And as there was movement and that I embrace that I'm holding, and now I'm embracing that I'm putting it down. I'm a yes to this, and I'm also a yes to putting it down. And I'm a yes to, now I feel good in this moment, so I'm yesing to this too. I'm embracing this too, that I feel good in this moment actually. And you revealed that to the doctor.
Yeah.
It's not that the liver wasn't already lined up, it's that you got in line with the liver.
With the liver, yeah. Very much so.
That's how manifestation works.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
It's man, it seems so complicated, but it's just not, right? No. It's just so simple. And it's you know, I'm not a biblical person, but I know that there is I used to be and I used to be able to quote scripture, and I'm not able to do that anymore, but there is where two or more come together, right? There's validity to that. There's validity to that. And it's in its energy, right? When I can have all this energy and just be exploding with all these ideas and all these creativity and all this stuff, when he comes along and our energy combines and we're exploding with all these creativity and all this stuff, right? And if we're together with another set of twins, we just married a set a couple of weeks ago when we were in their energy, when all their energy, it's so powerful. We had a meeting at our home with a few of our coaches at one point in time. A couple of years ago, we were just talking about this in a group or a class or something, but we were all together sitting around the table, and we were just in this amazing energy that we were just manifesting these programs and these courses, and we were just in it. And the chest was full, all of us. And for some reason, somebody went out to their car and came back in and said, my battery's dead. And there were like 5 cars in the driveway, and all the batteries were dead. Like, we drained the batteries in the car outside. We had to get like jumper cables and get the neighbor's car to start everybody's cars. And a couple of them were even rentals, right? And brand new batteries and everything.
When you have power and you really all are focused and you're present with each other and you're manifesting shifts or changes or what the actual direction is, you do so in a way where you all connect in that way. You're pulling that energy to put that energy there.
Right.
And I think when we were doing that, we weren't focused on maybe we should ground before we do this. We just went right into it. And all of that energy was so positive. We needed more grounding. So of course, when you have that kind of a vortex of manifestation, you should make sure that you have groundings nearby. We just didn't. We were
so lost in the energy
right.
of what was going on. And
that's our time vortex too.
Yeah.
We don't have thoughts of time like what we used to. What we used to have was, the future is going to be better than the now. The past is always going to be as dreadful as the present. And once we actually got rid of that kind of noise, when you come into the energy field now, you come into where it feels timeless. And that's what connection is here to give all of us as far as manifestation, is to show you that you're infinite if you're just here and now. You just need to really resonate with that and realize that that's where the power of manifestation really lies, in your ability to be clearly present with what you're asking.
And living in the moment.
Yes.
We don't, since we've been in union, we really don't do much planning of a future.
No.
Now, we do say,
this weekend.
Hey, this weekend, you want to go to Maryland?
Right.
Okay. Or, hey, do you want to go see this show? Or you want to go see that show? You want to go this car show or whatever? We don't plan too much in the future, right? We try to stay in the moment as much as we can. We're human. We're in union, in a spiritual union. We still, it's so different, guys. Explaining this is so different because I'm not just me doing everything in the human aspect. I have a real, true life partner, right? Who does the dishes and vacuums the floor, and he makes the bed every day. We are a true partnership. Sometimes one of us does a little lacking, some of us does a little more, but it balances out. There's that human aspect when you're in union works itself out. It always does. Like, I can't walk around this house and say, you don't do anything and I do everything. I can't do that. It's not possible. Because right. Because it's so equal and it's so beautiful. And I don't expect him to do the dishes. He doesn't expect me to do them. They get done. Right. And I don't have any expectations on him doing anything. He doesn't have any expectations on me doing anything. A lot of times our heads will come into play and be like, he would really like me to pick up this laundry, but I'm not doing it. Right. And then I eventually do it. But there's so much once you get here that just brings peace. It's just peace. The whole world could be just falling down around you. But in this bubble, we have peace. We take this bubble out in public. We do. We take it with us everywhere we go. And sometimes people run away from the bubble, but a lot of times they're like, what is this bubble? What is this?
Who are you two?
Who are you two? Do we know you? We get it all the time. At restaurants, we walk in this bubble. I feel like John Travolta in that old movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. It's very much like that. Remember when they took him out to the beach or to wherever they took him? Yeah, very much like that. It feels like that. It feels like we're in this.
And it expands. If we're not together, it expands. Yes. It's not like she drives to the store and the bubble's broken.
Right.
The bubble's there.
Yeah.
And the connection is there. So did we manifest that, or was that already a part of the connection that was already manifested?
Okay, hang on. As someone who watched our journey video, our story videos, yes, I went in there. I was in the archives.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Here's what I remember happening. Each of you had facilitated, started putting that bubble in place for yourselves individually. And then as y'all came together, it didn't even like expand, it like exponentially expanded. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
Lee, you had a very personal journey that you had gone through after like one very particular incident. And it was after that moment you began to like stop, turn, and face yourself and your life and embrace yourself in this way that began to make all this room for Sherry. But Sherry had also been running this program called Lee Always Runs Way, or Lee Doesn't Choose Me, for a
Yes,
long
ma'am.
time. So when you began to do that, and Sherry had this counter program running, eventually Lee did run away again.
Yes,
And that
because
created for Sherry another opportunity to expand her bubble, because she had already been working on expanding her bubble. She had been working on expanding it, and she had been pushing it out and like coming into this union with herself and embracing herself in many different ways, in her career and her work, what she was doing for money, her body, her weight, where she was living, how she was working it out with the kids, right? All of that was unfolding. And what's funny, Sherry, is even your ex-husband, your kid's dad, embraced your bubble and his bubble before y'all embraced the bubble, the bubble.
Right.
that's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, that is very true.
He was like, there's something here. It's an energy here. And it just makes sense. It just clicks. It just works.
Right. Right.
What the interesting thing is, I have two ex-husbands, right? I have Cameron's dad and my girl's dad, and I've got pictures with all three of them just neck and neck. I've got pictures of all three of my husbands grilling on a grill, like. And the joke was, how many of your husbands does it take to make a hamburger? All of them, clearly, because I don't know what's going on with it. But it's just it's very much what he was talking about. It's that energy, and a lot of times when we walk into some place, it's felt before because everybody's already paying attention,
Right.
and I've pretty much lost my entire biological family to this connection. And it's because the energy is just so powerful and we're just so there.
It doesn't
right?
it doesn't get the energy to stay in the past.
Right. It's hard
Mm.
and they, a lot of times people want to just stay back what you did in 1988, right? Or what you did in 1989 or all that mess. Right. And not really embracing who you are now. All they see is the black sheep in a happy union.
Yes.
Right.
Why does she get to be happy when she did all this and that to me?
Sometimes that's the road.
Yeah.
The road is paved that way.
Yeah.
And it may be rocky, it could be bumpy, there could be potholes, but here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We drove down that road and she said, would you like to see my road? And I said, sure. And she goes, let me take you along a walk on it. And I said, go. And I said, when we got to that dirt road, and I said, what do you want to do now? And you're like, let's just build a road. I said, okay.
Pave it.
Right. And if anybody wants to come and walk on a road, we're like, come on. And they're like, but we're not moving on this road. Sure we are. The road is moving us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have to really choose what you want to happen in your connection that you're manifesting. Right. Like you said, when I individually went through those detrimental times and really had to face myself, I had to look at myself and say, I can be better. And I didn't know what that meant because there was something happening to my judgment when I was going through that. And I really had to manifest showing me what my judgment was, what choices my judgment was giving me. And I couldn't clearly see it at the time, but the things that I didn't feel right about doing that I was doing before and seemed to enjoy and thought it was something I actually started to really completely dislike and disconnect from. And it changed me. Like when the friends I had then, when they talked to me back then, when I was going through that change, I didn't sound like I wasn't talking about anything they wanted to talk about. So you really don't realize that when you start manifesting, when you start really for the individual self, how spiritually powerful that is. It changes the people in your life. You don't necessarily have to grieve losing them, but you have to really kind of understand what it was that gravitated you to each other to begin with. And I started realizing what gravitated me to the people I was with was that disconnect that I was carrying.
Mhm.
And when you find something in common with people who have that disconnect, you manifest more disconnection. And I just didn't have that in me anymore because I always felt like she was with me. I always felt like she was there. So even when I was going through it by myself, it was like every time I would say, I'm tired of being alone, I could hear her in my body saying, you're not alone. And it literally was like a fight I was having with myself to decide, was I going to believe that? And once I believed it, I never stopped believing it. I still have that voice in me that says, I'm never alone. Even as we sit here, that's what's manifested. I can never be alone. When we go, we're going together. She can't go without me and I can't go without her. So
Hey.
in my mind, I really manifested, and then my body took place and it manifested. And then my soul just said, let's do this. And there was this energy that I was exchanging with her. Like when I would snuggle with her when she was sick, I would literally say, I need my cells to go into her body and help her get through this. And it was this interchanging moment where I was like, how deep do I believe in this connection? And I realized it's never ending, right?
Meaning there
So
is no end spot where you
no,
end and beginning spot where she begins.
no,
There's just one energy.
we're
One.
both, we're sunset and sunrise. And it doesn't matter which one you want to make doing that because we know how to switch. And we switch based on what our chemistry is telling us that we've manifested within the connection. The
Yeah.
connection is here to dictate what we can manifest, not what we want.
Right.
Right? If we're not in unison in that connection, whatever we're focused on doesn't happen unless we're both feeling it.
So
Right?
I
Because
want to go back to something real basic though. Something basic.
yes, absolutely.
Because and it's I actually have a testimonial for y'all. I want to just say thank you. I say thank you to y'all just about every time I talk to you, but I got a new level of thank you for you. Because so often as, we encounter, people who are like, well, I want to get in a union, I want to come to union, but he's doing this, but he's doing that, but he's married, but there's this block, but there's that block. And I've seen people get into this pattern that they feel like people are fixed, that people are unchangeable, that, well, it's just the way it always is. And in focusing in that way, they just call up more of it. And if you're trying to switch it up, but you've got a momentum of a year, 5 years, a decade of story that has gone from singular thought to entire set of beliefs, what you've got is an atmosphere of momentum that is now regenerating the person to only and ever be like that. That's the only way they can show up for you. And so I've been talking a lot more these days with clients like, look, you don't have to cut the past out of your conscious. You have to learn how to forget that happened and be in the now and what you want to create in the now. Let's talk about my dad, because those are relationships that people have real hangups about. Well, my parents will never change. They're always this way. They're always going to be like that. And I am so wounded because of what my dad did. Right? We hear those kinds of language and story that people carry. And it was when I started working with you, that was when y'all kind of pulled Oz's little curtain back and said, no, wizard. This is how you want to pull the levers, Miss Thing. Because that's not, if that's the story you're gonna run about your papa, this what you're gonna get over here in your love life. So let's make some subtle adjustments to the way you're pulling the levers. And so I had a very specific story about the kind of man my father was, the kind of father he was, how he treated me, and the ways that he would show up. And I won't get into regurgitating all that now. Y'all who are listening, you fill in the blank with that quote unquote perceived problematic person in your own life and the story you have about them. Fill in the blanks with that. I had that story about my father. And I'm well now, I'm not a little girl anymore. I'm well into my 40s. But I began to work with you two, it was like 3 years. No, it was 2018.
She doesn't look a day over 20.
Hey, still got it. Okay, but no, let's get back to the point.
Okay.
Thank you for standing in agreement with me on that, because that's how it is going to stay for the rest of my life. We call it in the youth.
Yeah.
Now, back to my dad. We began to work together in 2018, the three of us, you and the two of you and me, and you really started to help me break down the story I had been carrying about him and start to look at him in a different light. You helped me to connect my humanity to his humanity, to see my internal pain and then see his internal pain, to help me to see my internal love and then to see his internal love. And what came through that was a deeper and deeper acceptance of him as a person, as a man. And our relationship slowly began to shift, slowly began to transform to the point at which we are now. My phone died about a month or two ago, like completely died. It was like, yeah, Miss Thing, I know you were trying to manifest this iPhone 6 into 2026, but no, I'm gonna need you to get up with the times. And so my iPhone 6 retired herself, and God bless her, she got me up to a 14. But I wanted to buy the 14 outright. I didn't want to do one of these payment plan things, but it also meant that I didn't have, like, however many thousands or hundreds of dollars laying around my house at that moment for that. My money had been allocated for that month. So I emailed my family. I was like, y'all, my phone died. A couple days later, manifested the money, went, got the iPhone. The first person I called was my father. I FaceTimed him. I said, Papa, I got the new phone. He was like, oh, that's really good, Kay. I'm so glad to hear that. I said, you were the first person I called. And if you could feel the smile he gave me on his face,
Aww.
I said, Papa, I knew if I didn't call you first, you would worry. And I didn't want you to worry because I was okay. And he was like, I could see how deeply validated and acknowledged he felt, that I understood him and how much he loved me. Fast forward to Father's Day 2023, a month or so later. I'm going through the store, about 3 weeks in advance. I'm trying to find a card from my father. And I'm like, no, that's too funny. That's too silly. I need something that really validates the specifics of who my father has been for me. Like, I want him to know that I see it. So I find the right card, and on it, I said, Papa, thank you so much for being this man for me. I absolutely love you. And I'm so glad that we've made it to the good years together. And so I, mailed up the card and I sent it to him, and it didn't get there in time. But the day he got it, he made a little video for me. It's the first time he's ever made a video. And I could see he had been crying. He had wept.
Oh.
And he had said to me, Kay, this was you. We wouldn't have gotten here if you didn't believe that we could get here. Thank you for believing in me and for believing in us. And it was Christmas. It was this last Christmas. I had gone to him and I had said, Papa, you're different. Like, you've changed. You're not the same guy that raised me. You're a different man in many ways. And I think I just really want to understand how you got there. And he started talking to me from, because my family is extraordinarily religious. He brought out his Bible, wanted to point to some stuff. I was like, okay, Papa, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me, because you're right. These things here, these fruits of the Spirit, you're right, they do show up. This is who you are. And the more I doubled down on my Father's goodness, his grace, how perfect of a father he is for me, how I got the best father in the world. The more I tell that story and just keep my attention on it, the more our bubble expands. He and I's bubble expands, right? And so I just had to share that with y'all because there are so many people who, whether it's a twin flame or a family member or their child, they're like, that person will never change. People change, y'all.
I have to chime in because
Please.
the, we get that mentality, and especially when it comes to romantic relationships, right? Where we have it in our mind, he will never change. When I met Lee, right? Lee was a player's player. And he had a wife, he had a girlfriend, and several other girlfriends scattered throughout different cities that he was professing love to, that he was planning relationships with without really being serious. However, these women were taking it all to heart. They had serious love for him. They all thought that he was coming, right? His wife waited for 15 years for him to come home while he lived with another woman that his wife didn't know he was living with. There, especially when it comes to men who have had that appetite for playing, or for women, there's just, men don't change, right? There's that perception of once a player, always a player, once a dog, always a dog. And Lee will proclaim he was a dog. That's the type of person I didn't want in my life. I didn't want to look over my shoulder, and I didn't want to, every time the phone rang, didn't want to wonder who it was. Or this man changed in so many ways that there's no possible way that I could look at anybody, even my own parents, and think that there's no way you can change. You're set in your ways. Because look, we do everything together, right? We don't have to. There are some times that we use the phrase, leave me alone, don't leave me by myself, right? I need some space for a few minutes, right? And we give each other that space. And I can run to the grocery store, or I can run to the department store without him, and I can be self-sufficient without him. And the same things, he does things without me too. It's not very often because we love to be together, but I've never seen such a change in a person that I've seen in him. I've never seen that. And I never would have believed it unless it didn't unfold under my eyes. And knowing to the core that the change was genuine and real, like not just some crap that you're saying, right? It's real. Like, I'm married to and in connection with the most loyal, loving man, right? Loyal, loving man that I'm so blessed, right? That we manifested this union, because it's so pure and it's so genuine and it's so blissful, right? Coming from, and I was a heathen. I wasn't perfect. I was a heathen, and he was a heathen, right? But there comes a time when I looked at him and I didn't see that person anymore. He looked different to me, right? We follow a bunch of different bands, but there's lyrics that come in my head all the time that just make so much sense. And one of our favorite artists has a song, and it says, "The boy who wrote the lyrics ain't the man who's singing the song," right? Yeah, it's so powerful, but it's so relevant, because we evolve so much. And when we allow ourselves, instead of staying back into our heathen days, and focusing on those. And we don't. Other people do. Other people stay focused back there, and they keep trying to throw it up and bring it up and bring it up. Well, he's a doll. I've had his friends' wives come to me before we were even in union and say, look, you're making a big mistake here. This dude will never settle down. Like, he is not that type of material. Get out, run while you can. Don't say we didn't warn you, right? And here we say, like, it's
Powerful.
so powerful.
So I just want to bring in, because I know people are like, well, what is that? And how do I do that with my mom, my daughter, you know, my person? We've been talking about what that is this entire conversation. So just to sum it up, in case you missed it, it was really just coming into that place with yourself, full embrace, full love.
There is an ingredient that they're looking for. Kay, first of all, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Every time I hear stuff like that, it gets me, you know. You can't see another person changing if you're not focused on your pain and focused on the shape of that pain. So what our purpose was, why we do the root camp, why we did specifically with what you're referring to, and looked at the shape of your pain when it came to your father. There was no space for you to have a connection to a man because of the shape of that pain. It was never about your father. It was about the girl inside that needed it. And the more we sat in that pain with you, the more you started to realize that it wasn't him who needed to change. It was her, the girl in pain. You just weren't embracing the pain and taking it to him so he could love you through it. So we kind of found a way in our connection to embrace the child in you that went through that pain, because that was probably our greatest strength with each other. I changed because I embraced my pain rather than let it stay the same shape. What was hard for me to see back then was very complex because I didn't know how to put words to my feelings. So early on, when people used to watch our stuff or when people would talk to us, they didn't understand what I was saying, but they felt it. And I didn't know that that was my gift. I didn't know that I could literally tap into a pain inside of myself that would allow me to gateway to other pain. I just didn't know. So when she was really believing in me, she was showing me that I could do that. And I was like, I didn't even know I could do this. And the more she believed in me, the more I had to keep standing back and looking and going, what is she believing in? She believed in my pain before she believed in me. She believed that I wasn't doing everything I was doing because I wasn't in pain. And that's hard to see when you have somebody who's serial cheating or has addiction or drug abuse or any of the things that they have. They have that blame factor that keeps their pain in the same shape. So when they say somebody won't change, what they're saying is the shape of my pain when it comes to that person isn't changing. So they got to hold on to that pain, and that pain becomes their parent. And what we needed you to do is really pay attention to, was it the pain you've never taken? And once you started changing the shape of that pain, it allowed you to see him differently, which gave him permission to change in your presence. Our behaviors get reflected in that way. I manifest being in a deeper pain so I can experience more love. I don't manifest it the opposite. I don't manifest more love and away from pain. You need both. You need both. Pain has power. Pain has ability to teach you. Pain is the threshold of connection. So if you're trying to manifest it and you don't have that as your belief system, you may end up finding that you may circle back around to the same recycling pain until you do. You can change the shape of who you are based on your pain, not somebody else's, yours. And you can manifest that, but it's not easy. We're never saying any of this is easy. But there are questions you can be asked that will open you up inside so you can start to see what your pain is telling you isn't the truth, because your pain is always going to tell you the truth. Your feelings will always tell you the truth. Your thoughts won't.
Right.
And once those become intertwined, because somehow, some way, we're still not taught to feel. We're taught to think. So our power of manifestation has been lost to that. Your ability to feel is how you manifest. And don't think that you get rid of pain to make that happen. Go into the pain because it's got love in it. And that love can expand and it can change and you can change connection and shape and manifestation, all of those things based in your pain, not away from it. And you need somebody who can connect to your pain. We all need.
Mm-hmm. And if you're struggling with somebody who you see as just, you feel is just lost and struggling with themselves, I think if I would have come at you and said, why are you hurting so many people all the time? Like, why are you hurting your wife? Why are you hurting this girl? Why are you hurting these people? I could have done that. But what I did instead was, why are you hurting so badly? Like, why are you hurting? Because somebody who's not hurting doesn't inflict pain like that. So what's going on in you? I want to know. I don't care about all those other women. That's you. I want to know what's going on inside you that promotes that type of activity. There's a certain way, in connection that you talk to one another, and instead of pushing them into a deeper space that they're in, opens their eyes and sort of brings them out. 20 million people can say to you, I don't know why you hurt everybody. You're just a herder, right? You just hurt people. That's what you do.
Right.
Instead of really saying, I care about you so much. I want to know what the root of that is.
Right.
I want to know why you are hurting so badly. Because if you weren't, all this hurt wouldn't be out there.
Spilled all over the
Right.
place, hurting all this.
Right.
And I believe, that was permission for me. That you look at what you see somebody doing, but you don't know why they're doing it. She didn't come at me from that. She came at me from what's going on in me. And it was, I think, when we came into the connection, we weren't understanding, but she knew that when she could feel me sometimes, there would be a severe amount of pain. And she said, I can feel how much pain you're in. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Now, in my mind, I'm asking her what she's talking about, but in my body, I'm saying she can feel that.
Yeah.
So there was something in me that said, I don't want her to feel my pain. So what is my pain?
And there were Jedi mind tricks that I used too. And like when we were in the friendship phase, and those are fun. And
they're important.
We were trying to be friends. And he would say something like, I'm gonna call it an early night. I'm gonna go to bed, and okay, have a good night, whatever. And then I would go to bed, by myself, and then all of a sudden be overcome with his smell and his touch and other things. And things were happening to me that was making me not feel good. So I would either do a meditation or take a shower or whatever to get some sleep. But the next morning, I didn't, you know what you did? Blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you did that. You lied to me and you went and slept with somebody. Blah, 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 blah. And all I would say to him was, what happened last night was painful to me. I don't need all this. I don't need to feel that. So thank you for that. I didn't need that. And he'd be like, oh, what you talking about? Crazy witch of a lady?
But when you say that, there'd be this sharp pain shoot
like
through
you
me.
knew.
No, like it had to come back to me.
Yeah.
Like it had to come back to me for me to experience it.
Yeah.
And
you had to understand that I was actually feeling you and not saying, well, I know you was with somebody last night. Ah.
The reason why we're sharing this, though,
I did that
because that was the awakening of the ability of what we could have if we were both in the same space, focusing on something.
Yeah.
So you really, if you want to manifest somebody's healing, you've got to manifest their pain coming up. And that's, I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, it was pulled up her pain. And she's asking me what kind of pain I was in because she knew what her pain made her do. So what it was that reflection of, I need to pull up, number one, what you're not paying attention to, and number two, tell you that I can feel it and experience it with you, and you're not experiencing it by yourself. What is that? And I didn't know. I didn't know that that was real until it was. And now you look at the power of that pain, and we encourage it. We don't want to stuff down our pain because it strengthens our connection. But I don't know if that's because we believe it so much that that's what manifests. But every single time, it's like this huge closeness that comes between us. So I believe it's important to at least put that there when you're manifesting things, that you can't hide your pain. You can't disregard it. You can't put it to the side and then try to come to a person and say, we're going to manifest this. If you don't have clear communication that's truthful without judgment, that there's feelings that are allowed to come up and they're allowed to be embraced. If you don't have that when you try to manifest, the manifestation stalls. And we've done that. We've been through that more than we're making it happen.
That's so real, because I think sometimes we had talked about this a little last night with Allie. When Allie was on the channel and she was talking about, and Allie's in the chat, she did come by to say hi to you guys, that sometimes we can have she was talking about, you could set an intention and you can manifest where you want to go with the plant medicine, but you don't always get to where you want to go. And I said, well, sometimes you have an agreement that is stronger, momentum that is stronger, that is demanding a time and attention around something else. And just because your consciousness can't catch it doesn't mean your spirit, your soul, your union with source didn't already have the agenda out for you. Absolutely. And so there's this thing that, when you're embracing all of you, that's how you carve out the bandwidth for another person to rock by your side, right? And so, and it's holding on to the pain that is actually that's the root of the manifestation of the separation, is just holding it and replaying it. And you can embrace it and watch it soften. I found, like, I can turn toward it and watch it shapeshift.
Oh yeah.
But if I'm just replaying the incident again and again and using that as my armor and shield to not get close, I am, as a master manifestor, divine creator and being incarnate, created in God's image, call it what you want, I am simply creating my own separation. I'm reconfiguring it and playing it out again and again and again. So I have one last question for you too, and it's about practices. And then if you have time and you're open to it, I'd love for you guys to answer a couple of audience questions. But for people who are already in some format of union, and I have started to address it this way on my channel with my subscribers. If you identify yourself as in union, and identifying in union, whether there's a ring on your finger or a person in your bed, is a step toward actually opening up to that energy field and participating in it. If you identify yourself in some format of union, what's a practice that you two play with that has called in the puppies, called in the rabbits, is going to call in this air fryer? What are some things the two of you do together to expand this bubble, to call in things that y'all want?
Coming into agreement on what we want, for sure. Coming into agreement is a big thing. Making sure that our focus is in agreement, right? And that we're not secretly worried or secretly stressed or secretly concerned, right? So talking to each other and saying, are you harboring any worry or any stress, versus you got to be the block. You're the one worrying, right? So yeah, it's important. The communication is important on what it is your focus is on. Meditation, together meditation, meditating on that specific focus, right? If we find ourselves in a situation where we've got a bill that we can't quite make, if we focus on each other and go into that meditation with one another, if we can't find the focus on the outside of us because our mind noise is so busy, right? When we go into meditation, we know that we're setting intent for that meditation, for that focus. And for those few minutes that we're able to do that, that provides the energy burst,
Yes.
right? That we need when we come out of that. Self-care is important too, making sure that we are our own identity, making sure that we have our views and our opinions heard and put out there to one another, right? So there's no like angst or anger or any disbelief or any negative type of thought process getting in the way. And if there is, discussing it, right? Saying to each other, I have fear where that's concerned, I have fear. And then we can go into that and discuss it and alleviate that fear. And then our focus will go back in together, right? But talking about it, well, we gotta focus on this new automobile that we need, this new used automobile that we need to be able to travel, right? So then how do we do that? Well, you're worried about an extra payment. No, I'm not really worried about that. Okay, well then maybe I am worried about an extra payment. You know what I mean? Opening up the mind to be able to see that, and then being in agreement with, okay, let's talk about the fear of having another payment. To me, that would mean that you don't necessarily have all the belief in the union and what it can do, right? And navigating through those things and talking about and being in communication with what's lying underneath the intent. Is there anything underneath the intent? Worry, fear, stress, right? Are those things present?
Right.
Because if they are, we need to work on that. We need to put that into healing so we can move forward with the manifestation. And then, before you know it, the automobile's in the driveway, and when it comes payment time, it's in the accounts.
Right.
And Lee and I are sitting here. Neither one of us have full-time jobs, right? This is what we do. This is what we do. We help people go into healing. And we set that intent in the very beginning to use our stories, my sexual abuse, my physical abuse, his womanizing even. We use those tools when we are helping people go into healing. Now we have, as we've evolved, there's been so much more that we've learned that we can blaze a trail to get through. I mean, illness, close to death, how you handled your twin physically dying, how I handled all of that. There's so much more we can teach from, and using our old stories for the greater good, not for the negativity of them. Even the things that happen present day, right? Talking about them, communicating them, and getting them out. We do, him and I had a discussion just the other night when he had come downstairs, our studio's up in our room. And, he was coming down later and later at night, like 9:30. And I had to have a conversation with him and say, look, by the time you come down to me, you have spent the entire day giving your energy to everyone else, and you come down at 9:30 at night, and there's nothing left for me, right? And that's how I was genuinely feeling. So I expressed that to him, because I knew if I didn't express that to him and things didn't get worked out a little bit, then we're going to be blocking anything that we're in an agreement to try to manifest, right? If I was harboring that and I didn't say anything to him, when we went to go manifest something, I knew that that was going to be buried in there. So being able to say, look, I just need you to stop booking at 8 o'clock, right? So you're not done at 9. If we can just cut it off at 7, so 8 o'clock's fine. So at least when you come down, we have a couple hours where we can just be. And he heard me, and he's doing that, and it's bringing us closer together. Communication is the key. Meditation, you'll get there once you get into union, being able to do that at the same time with one another. I just know that when we're going after something, whether it be more peace or more romance or more dates or more time, right?
Or an air fryer or a Lynx.
Yeah. Or an ice shaver. Got me an ice shaver, girl. I got it. But it's making sure that there's nothing harbored inside, right? When you're setting that intent, especially between one another, because you can't really come into full agreement if there's other things in the way. And yeah, sure, I'll meditate with you, but I'm still so mad about last night. You know what I mean? Sure, we'll meditate. That'll be great. And, you know, there's, how are you doing? Fine. You having a good day? Yep. You know what I mean? Really now?
That doesn't work.
What's happening? What's going on? What's happening? And it may not have anything to do with him at all, right? Just something that happened during the day and that just triggered me or something, but he can tell. So that needs to be cleared. It needs to be put into healing, right? With my sexual abuse, I endured so much as a child and as a young adult, or as a young teenager, and all that hurt, right? Coming out when I was able to talk to him about it when we very first came together, and was I able to let that all out, right? I can now talk about my sexual abuse and not cry or not feel like a victim or not feel icky, right? Because I'm using it as a tool to help others in what I've been through. And that dog is laying on the thing, making the
Camera bounce. Sorry about
camera
that.
bounce.
That's
So
Gemma.
we
Gemma's
got Gemma.
It's not us.
But harboring those things, I wouldn't be able, if I was still harboring hate and anger for what happened to me, I wouldn't be able to communicate effectively my feelings and how I got through it, right? And how I'm able to speak about it. So bringing something into agreement to manifest it, you've got to make sure that there's nothing in the way. And that most of the time it's harbored inside of you.
Right. So
Really
union.
good. Thank you for sharing.
You
that.
want to be real simple to really capture everything she said. You and I on love, the same page, pain, the same page. So union happens when all of those things are available. They don't happen without that.
Right.
So when you look, you want union, then you got to make sure that everything in you isn't laying out of you. It isn't laying behind you. It isn't laying deep on the inside with nobody accessing it. You got to have openness, vulnerability, truth, pain, strength. All those things are a part of what you're looking to manifest. You know, it has to be you and I on. So union is not really that complicated if you really look at what that really means. It is about putting the truth between you, the acceptance between you. All of these things have to kind of fall into place. And there's going to be hiccups. Be okay with the hiccups, because you know that the point is still, you got to get there. We're not taught to communicate in connection, so we got to learn it, right? So you got to be very open with the fact that you don't know how to talk from your feelings, and you really want to learn, and you may make mistakes. But as long as you and I are on the same page, we'll get there. That's the part of manifestation that has to happen. You and I on. That's it.
You and I on.
That's it.
Love it. Love it. And I
Fill
think
that
that
out.
I meant earlier.
Spell that out. Spell
When,
that out.
when
U-N-I-on. Spell that out.
I'll put it in the chat for the people. But I think that's what I meant when I was trying to say, like, you have to learn how to forget. Like, you cannot keep telling the old story. The pain is there. Embrace, greet it. I'm not saying erase it. But I am going to say real loud and over again for people, stop telling the pain story about it. Like, really get to the place where you're like being honest, like, okay, this happened. Yes. And that didn't feel good. Yes. And there's
It doesn't
more.
define.
It doesn't.
It doesn't define.
It births me. It doesn't define. It
That's
births.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And erasing like using it as definition, that's the part we have to do. Like, we don't have to use definition.
No.
No.
I'll add one last thing to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know that when you're truly you and I are on the same page, when your vulnerability is completely available, that's the true meaning of forgiveness. If you can be vulnerable and just be vulnerable, period. That's how you know when you've truly forgiven. There's no holding back. There's no pause. There's just vulnerability. So give yourself a chance to find out within yourself, and everything else will work itself out. It will manifest everything the way it's supposed to be around you. Trust your vulnerability. Trust it. Don't hide it. Don't run from it. Don't challenge it. Just accept it. Like a newborn baby would. Babies don't run from connection. They run towards.
So true. Thank you. Lee, and Sherry, I put in, one of you has an available cell phone. I sent you a text message with a quick question. You'd have a look at that. That'd be great. But I see here, if you're open to 2 or 3 audience questions.
Sure.
Okay. Twisted Sushi, Quantum Love for All asks, are there some things you just cannot agree on? And if so, what do you do about that? When one of you's holding it in manifestation and the other one is just like has the opposite energy toward it.
I'll use his car as an example.
Okay. We'll take it.
So Lee has a love for cars that I don't necessarily possess. I have a love for live music that he likes it, right? But he's not in love with it like I am. But so he's had a car for many years. It was paid off. It was a great little car. He loved it. But ever since I've known him, he has talked about this specific make and model of car they didn't make anymore. And he had 2 or 3 of them back in the day. And it seemed like when he talked about cars, it's the only make and model he talked about. Well, guess what? They started making them again, right? And he was zipline focused on one, right? And I was like, there's just no way. You're not getting a car. That's a lot. You're not doing that. And we didn't agree. We didn't agree for many months. And it wasn't like I was saying no. It's just like I didn't agree, right? He finally came to me, right? And we had not like a bantering discussion, like, no, you're not getting a car and walk off and do the dishes type of thing. No, you're not getting a Lynx type of thing, right? It wasn't like that, right? It was like, I really want to talk about this. So at that point, I kind of knew that he was pretty serious about it. And I'm like, okay. So here I am going, go ahead, get the car, right? What harm is it going to do me, right? Get the car. And here he is like a little kid who wants to get a puppy. I promise I'll feed it. I'll take care of it. I'll give it a bath. You don't have to do nothing, right? I swear this was the conversation we had. You're not responsible for the payment. You're not responsible for anything. I'm like, all right, whatever, right? nonchalantly was like, whatever. He was like, I'm going to sell my car. Now he loved his car. I'm going to sell my car in order to get this other car. Okay. So he actually sat down and had a conversation with me about how he planned on getting this car. In the back of my mind, I'm going, first of all, he's never going to sell his car. That's never going to happen, right? 2 days later, he's like, you're going to have to meet me up here at the Rural King because this guy's buying my car, right? What? He's selling his car? That means he's getting another car. So I was like, okay, I was going to let it ride out. He sold his car. I went with him. The guy handed me the money. I don't know what he was thinking. He was a sheriff and he bought his car. And so, I mean, I could have took the money and run, but I didn't. But we got back in the truck and I just looked at him like, you sold your car? He's like, yeah, I told you I'm going to get another one. And he's like, how do you feel about that? And at that point, I kind of felt proud. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he really took the initiative. He really wanted this. And I really didn't think that it was obtainable in that moment. Right. So I wasn't focusing on it. Mm-hmm. But once you came to me and you talked to me, once you sold your car, then I was awakened to the fact that this was a desire that you wanted. Yeah. And I wanted to help you reach that. Right. So I began to focus and manifesting your car, right? And now she sits in the garage and he's got a camera on her so nobody touches it. And wow. However, I don't honestly feel like there's ever been anything that we have totally disagreed on and that couldn't come to some type of compromise. And there are things that that you know are important. They're important to me, they're important to him. And I'm assuming that just a part of this union is wanting to help the other one reach their goals, wanting to help the other one get to the ice machine, the ice shaver. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but I stay thirsty all the time. I'm a diabetic, so I'm constantly thirsty, and I need to stay hydrated. I'm on these medicines that constantly dry me out. So I was using my little blender and making some shaved ice, and he got on Amazon and got me a snow cone maker, an ice shaver, and now I've got unlimited ice. I told him, you know, I mean, there's only so much water you can drink, right? I drink flavored water, everything. I'm done with it. Now I can eat all this ice, and it really helping me stay hydrated. But I expressed to him that this is something that I'm doing this in the blender because it's something that I need, right? To keep. I didn't ask him to buy me an ice shaver. He just bought me an ice shaver. Yeah. So he wants me to be well. He wants me to be hydrated. I want him to be happy. I want him. I see a smile every time he gets in her car. Gets in the car. I see it. I mean, I do. He doesn't have very many wants, but I don't honestly feel like there's ever been anything that we haven't made a compromise on. And that doesn't mean that I haven't sacrificed things or that he hasn't sacrificed things that we want to do or have wanted to do. Or if it's a need, we make sure that each other's needs are met. That's a given. But if it's a want, and you know, we would all love to have another puppy. I mean, come on. Every time we see a puppy, he's like, oh, don't let me see a puppy. We've got 3 huge dogs. We don't have room for another puppy. It's not the right time. We have to wait for one of the dogs to cross over the bridge here. But if he was to bring a puppy home, I wouldn't tell him to take it back. No. Right? I want him to have what he wants. I believe that's a big part of union, is that we have things that we disagree on, but there's absolutely nothing that we can't come to some type of compromise on.
There's a lot to be said about what we do for our children inside for ourselves, and then what we do for our children inside of the union. Right. Because there is a space there where there's, like, I've always been a car head since I was 3 years old. One of my cousins was a race car driver. So one of my first experiences that I can remember back in my database is I can remember him and my uncle taking me for a drive and me just that was immediate. It was like an instant love. So, you know, it's very rare that you have those kinds of disagreements or you don't have the same kind of manifestation thing when it's not something the other person can feel. The other person feels it and then you manifest it. If there's something that you may not be on the same page about, then there's a space there where you're okay without it. You know what I mean? I don't think we manifest wealth because we knew that what we wanted to manifest was healing. So we knew that, okay, can that make us money? Maybe, maybe not. But either way, we knew that whatever we've been going through, there was something in it that said, no, you can do this and you need to be available to do this at any point, because connection doesn't wait for hours. We should wait for hours. Connection's happening all the time, but disconnection happens faster than connection. So we have to be faster than disconnect.
Yeah.
So we
Compromise is big.
Compromise is big. It is big.
Compromise is big. So I might have to not go to a show because he has a car show, and I don't necessarily. There are some car shows that if I'm going and sitting in a chair and just hanging out, that's cool. Watching people take pictures of his car, that's fine. but sometimes I'm not going to get up that early to go to a show. So there's a lot of compromise there. And I think that's super important. It's super important that you have the love and respect for the other person to be like, okay, I'm able to make this sacrifice in order for you to be able to grow or get what you want or get what you need. Yeah. Because I know for a fact when it comes back around and I want a Lynx, I'm going to get it.
You see what she did right there? You see what she did right there?
Yes. I can't with her. I can't.
We're gonna put the Lynx in his 2-seater car.
Oh Lord. Listen. We might have to just, the three of us on another day page, just manifest that healing and abundance, like financial wealth, that these things together, that they come hand in hand. Because I'm gonna need y'all to get a bigger house, because apparently these puppies and this Lynx gotta go somewhere.
I'm telling you. And you know what's interesting? We manifested our yellow house. For those of you who watched our journey, we manifested our big yellow house. And it was a nice big house. And then I really feel that we took a lot of the things that we manifested for granted, right? And we lost some type of appreciation for the power that we had to be able to do that. I got sick and we needed to be closer to the hospital. And we were 45 minutes away. So we've moved out of the yellow house, right? And we manifested it, and it was what we thought was our dream home at the time. And it was. And now we're in a position where, we're in a much smaller space, and we're going to have to be looking for something else very soon, and finding it and manifesting it is what we're looking forward to. The fun part, right? Finding it, manifesting it, making it happen, then moving. Right. And
you do it in specific order.
You do for sure. I mean, his brother's one. You guys haven't even packed up your leases up in 2 months. Well, what's the point? Pack it up. Everything. Pack it up next month. Right. I mean, we're in the moment. We're in the now.
Right.
We're not moving right now.
Yeah. We noticed that getting there is a part of the stress factor. So you can't get there until you realize you're there already.
Right.
So, for us, we're already moving. We're just moving at our speed, not everybody else's. That's how connection.
We took a lot of time answering that one question.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, it's all good. And it's funny because I asked these people, 80 people up in here, and I've been like, so do y'all have questions? And then I typed it in the chat. We're going to take questions. Only one person asked the question. And then I asked again, I said, so are we wrapping up here, y'all? Or are there any other cues? No other cues came through. So that's fine. And if that's where y'all probably blew a few lids back, blew a few minds today. People probably just trying to digest it. But do you guys work with couples and individuals, right?
Yes. Actually, Sherry's doing She just started doing 3 sessions with her,
It's-
1 session with us.
It's
and then
crazy.
3 sessions with her, then 1 session with.
So it's 8 sessions, but you get the majority of feminine energy. A lot of them have already worked with Lee that I'm getting, and they just need a
round.
yeah, it just needs to come back around. So what I'm offering is 3 sessions. It's 8 sessions, 3 sessions with me, 1 session with us together after the 3 with me, and then 3 more with me, and then the final sessions with us together. That's super powerful,
Yeah.
right? And I'm only back part-time. I'm still recovering. I'm still taking care of myself. If you go through and look at our channel, you can actually see the physical evolution of Lee and Sherry. Physical evolution. I look nothing like I looked when we started our first video, and neither did you. You had hair, and my hair wasn't blue. But you can see the.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, she'll keep going if you laugh.
Only the
But you-
face that you make, Lee, is that face puts
You-
people in a space. If you didn't say nothing,
It's so important. You can really see. You can see the physical evolution.
Yes.
You can see where the sickness was coming on. Remember that chronic cough I had for years?
Gone.
In my video? in many videos, I had that chronic cough. And you can watch just the first 5 minutes of each video and see a physical evolution of Lee and Sherry to where we are now, to what we were. It's amazing. It's amazing to see.
So we're doing her root camp. I'm still doing root camps.
I'm doing sexual abuse root camps.
Yeah, she's doing those. Doing a connection class starting next Tuesday. The connection class will only have 8 slots. We've been doing, she's been doing medium readings and card readings. We have a class that we're doing for that.
Mhm.
So we're staying connected. So if you're running towards connection, you need some space. We got you.
Yeah.
We definitely are keeping connection here.
I'm actually start doing the divine feminine explosion courses, and it's just going to be for women who are stuck in a situationship or stuck in no movement. You've been stuck in this same position for a long period of time. So we're going to do these.
Podcast last night was about on your channel. I saw that.
Yeah, we're going to do these, and we're going to make some change.
She's pretty good at getting. She knows the things. I mean, look at who she's sitting next to. I mean, there would have been, she changed my shape, so she knows how to change that shape. She knows how to bring connection in that space from the divine feminine, masculine perspective. She knows how to flip the script for both. So I'm really excited for that class for her, because I know that everybody who comes to that class is going to get a lot out of it.
Mhm.
She
a lot of empowerment.
She really had to keep me talking, and she's going to be able to help people figure that out. So I'm really excited.
Root camp, real quick. That sounds like boot camp, but what is it?
Root camp is how you got disconnected and how connection found you. It's all connection point. So you have a masculine and feminine design that you're not connected to within yourself. So it's kind of like that you and I on. We actually go in and figure out how you and the people you're connected to, how you got connected to or disconnected from in that space. Then it starts to make sense with why you're where you're at in your connection and your relationship or your marriage or your addiction or your sexual abuse. All of these things all come from a specific way that you were born and things that happened to you from that point on. We focus on what you felt, what you feel, and what you're doing with that feeling now, because that's going to tell you a lot about why the connection is doing what it's doing. Kind of like how you can change connection with your father, Kay. You can change connection with anybody, starting with yourself. But root camp is more geared towards your connection to yourself, and it helps you discover your belief system. It helps you discover your fears. It helps you discover the power that you truly have that you're not even tapping into yet. So we've been doing root camp. It's going on
Long time.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years. So at this point, we've not only been able to connect in ways, but we've seen results that are just absolutely mind-blowing. People that have reconnected before they lost the person they were connected to. We've just seen incredible things from this program that was literally a birth from our pain. And we continue to do it, and there's no duplication in it whatsoever, because your story is your story, but your pain is what needs to be connected to out of your story. And that's what Root Camp does.
Very good. Thank you. So if you're in the chat and you're taking a look, I did put a link for their free 30-minute coaching session. In that session, they'll help you understand, kind of where you're at in terms of manifestation toward union, manifesting in union, and give you that opportunity to figure out, okay, what is my next step? Is it some kind of work with Sherry, some kind of work with Lee, some kind of work with both of them? What is the right thing for me to do? And like Sherry said, if you are on the other side of sexual abuse, and you know that that's something that has played a role in the way that you enter in or engage in connection, and you're ready to have a different kind of relationship to that, she is doing that particular program for people who've had that experience. And you can work with men who are abuse survivors too, right? Yeah. And the question I had, I don't think maybe, let me ask it a different way. If a couple who are working together in connection and in union together in some way decide they want to work with you, man and a woman, man and a man, woman and a woman, they decide they want to work with you, you can work with a couple, right?
Certainly, we do it all the time.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
We do.
Amazing.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, we work with a lot of twins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We do. We work with a lot of people in union.
We've married quite a few.
We've married a few, actually.
There you go. There you go.
We're only going to do that. We're only going to marry you if we know and we feel the energy, and we know that it's a union. You know what I mean? And we got ordained online, and we're able to physically marry people. But when it comes to the twin flame thing, then we always make sure that it's a real connection, right? I marry people in the community, right? And I don't vet them, or I don't, whatever. A couple of them are already divorced. But when it comes to like more of a spiritual connection, and somebody asks us to marry them, we're definitely going to talk about it and feel the energy. And if they're, we definitely do a twin flame ceremony. And it's Broken Days was fast.
It was, but it was deep and powerful. It was fast. And you could feel the energy.
Mm-hmm, you sure could. It was awesome. But yeah, couples are great.
Yes. Couples
are great. And a lot of times we will talk to them together, and then talk to them separate, and then come back and talk back together. And it works out really, really good. That way, in the beginning, if one of them or the other one's not comfortable really telling their deepest feelings for fear that the other person's going to get hurt or whatever, then they can come and say, Lee, can I talk to you next session separately? Or Sherry, can I talk to you next session separately? Or, can I get an extra session with you separately, or whatever? And then that way it'll make more sense when we come in together. Right. And that's fine, except for we're definitely going to let the other person know that we're talking.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of powerful. It's really interesting.
The couples root camp is pretty powerful in itself.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of hidden things that get discovered.
There's a lot of things that aren't being said.
Yes.
To one another.
We found that there's a whole other form of communication that's not happening that root camp brings out of you. Mm-hmm. But as a couple, it really brings it out of you. And we've seen huge success with it. Very huge success with it. So hopefully that answered your question, Kate. I don't know. So she's muted.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be muted like that. Thank you. That definitely answered my question 100%. It has been a treat to chat with you guys. We have been here for almost 2 hours at this point. So I know, because we're in the bubble. It was a time
Yeah.
vortex.
Welcome to our
Oh,
welcome to our
Yeah.
if you stumble on 465 videos that do pretty much the same thing. It's like
In the
465.
I'm telling y'all, it's magical. I've worked with them at the beginning of starting my channel and my work. And you guys heard today some of the breakthroughs I've had. And that's just one of several. Allie, who was here in the chat earlier, she's also worked with them. And it's just the work that they do will put you, they will make your life unrecognizable to you on the other side of it, because you become unrecognizable, or should I say, like, more whole, like more you than you've ever been through the work. And out of
Yes.
that manifestation of everything else that you've been trying to call in your life, whether it's like you're just trying to get in alignment with some sort of mission work, or you just want to be in alignment with your partner, or allowing someone into your life to love you, their work will help you facilitate the alignment and the wholeness you need to have that come in. So powerful work for individuals, powerful work for couples. Thank you guys for talking about what it's like to manifest in union. It's great to have you all here. If you are hanging out with me, you know that tomorrow we have a triple header for Creator Conference. We'll hear from 3 different folks. The full lineup is over on the community page in my channel. But definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell, because even if you can't attend live, if you catch a title of something or a few words and you're like, oh, I want to hear that later, you'll know what the topic is and you can add it to your playlist and you can watch it at a later date. If you want to get with Lee and Sherry, their links will be below this video. Like I mentioned, there is a free 30-minute breakthrough consultation that they provide for listeners. Thank you guys for setting the audience up with that. Link will be in the description box below this video so that they have the opportunity to get you connected with everything it is you're trying to manifest. Thank you guys for being here. Always a pleasure.
Thank
for
you
having
so
us.
much.
Thank you for your connection.
Yes.
Yes, you're welcome. All right, everyone. If you're listening to the recorded version, you can find the next video in Creator Conference in the Creator Conference playlist here on the K-Moon